Hello, gorgeous ones. Look at me, bang on time, 8 o'clock. It's a miracle. Dr. Lucy here from Real Life Medicine. This week, we are talking emotional eating. Now, I'm just going to wait for a few of you to jump on. I expect that you're probably not ready for me to be right on at 8 o'clock. But anyway, this week, emotional eating. Oh, gorgeous ones. Pascal, Jenny, Fiona, I can see you all. Miss Helena, here I am. So, on Monday, we talked about your identity as a comfort eater or a sweet tooth or a chocoholic, and how separating your identity out from a tool is kind of the first step. Then yesterday, I forgot what we talked about yesterday. I'll come back to it. What did we talk about? Anyway, I'm rambling now. Hello, Tina from Auckland. How exciting. We're international. But today what I actually want to talk about is our boundaries around eating. So I was going to talk about that on Monday, but I got sort of distracted by talking about identity. So boundaries. People think that they have no control, no willpower, no boundaries. And what the boundaries are, we actually have boundaries all the time about things we're prepared to do or not prepared to do. And this can actually be a process, and it can be progress. So one of the things, I was talking to one of my lovely patients on Monday, and her brain had gone into the all or nothing. She wasn't perfect, so therefore she was really hopeless. Then we talked about some of the things actually that she has implemented that are now permanent things. So things like, for her, she no longer has buns on the burgers. If they go out to a burger restaurant, she will never order the bun. Now that's actually a big change, because it means that you're not actually all or nothing, that you've put some boundaries in, some things that no matter what, no how stressed you are, no how tired you are, you're just not prepared to do anymore. So one of my boundaries, and this has been super effective for me, is I no longer eat in the car. Now, I used to eat in the car. The car was a little bit of my secret space for eating. And sometimes what I would do is I'd, on the way home after a bad day, pull into the servo, grab usually 2 blocks of chocolate because they were on special. So, buy one, get the other one for 5 cents. And then I'd scoff them all before I got home, because then I could dispose of the wrapper, and it was all done in secret. So I no longer eat in the car. It's just a rule. And that stops, therefore, that idea that I can just pull into a servo. It also stops the idea that I used to just eat in the car because, I don't know, I had this idea the car was boring. And, I think it came from long trips. As kids, long trips always meant lollies, always meant stopping somewhere, and getting a Magnum or something like that. Now, for me, long trips just don't mean anything. They're nothing to do with food. You're driving from one place to the other. So when you corral, yes, the car, Lisa. Oh, Louise, I completely get it. When you corral some spaces in which no matter what, you don't eat, it becomes a rule. And it just becomes something that you do. That's actually part of habit. A habit is something, an automatic thing that you do without even thinking. So at first it feels really tricky because you're used to hopping in the car and having whatever it is that you might have. Feels a bit awkward, feels a bit uncomfortable, and you don't really want to do it. But when you get these boundaries in place, it makes life easier. Now, people have heard me talk before. I will often talk about supermarkets. So for the majority of people, when you're walking down a supermarket aisle, you don't suddenly open packets of food and start eating it. Even though it's tempting, or it might be something that you would use as a tool, we don't do it. We don't do it because we haven't been taught, it hasn't been modelled. Oh yes, I've just remembered yesterday's topic. We've been taught to emotionally eat. How could I forget? But we have not been taught to eat in supermarkets overall. We have been taught that you just go down the supermarket aisles, you put your food in, you go and pay for it, and you take it home and unpack it. And that's when people go, oh, I can't, once it's in my house, I can't stop. Again, that's a boundary. We can talk about that again. But you think about it, it is not willpower that is stopping you grabbing that food off the shelf and hoeing into it. It's not willpower that's stopping you bursting open the packet of Tim Tams. It is merely a boundary that has been put in there that you're really not even aware of, and you just don't do it. So getting regular boundaries and working at them and recognizing that when it hasn't been a boundary and you're turning it into a boundary can be a bit tricky, but practice, and soon that will just become something automatic that you don't do anymore, that you don't eat on the couch after dinner. Again, that was one of my things. It was the car, which was my secret eating, and then the after dinner, which was the eating I would do with my husband as we tucked into bowls of ice cream. Those two have now changed. Developing boundaries is the key to corralling your emotional eating. It's one of the keys. It's not the total key, but it's one of the keys. So I'll just recap this week. We've talked about emotional eating as part of your identity and separating it out. It is just a tool. We talked about why you've developed this tool. We've been taught and modeled it from babyhood all the way through. And remember, marketing people, preying on that. And then today we've talked about implementing some boundaries and just deciding that there are certain places in your world, whether it's your work, your home, your car, that you just will not eat no matter what. I will not eat in the car. If I'm hungry, which is actually rare, but if I was to be hungry and I wasn't going to eat in my car, well, I actually take the time to stop and go inside somewhere and eat, because my car is not my dining table. Lovely peeps, I'll see you tomorrow with part 4. And remember, after this week, all of our lives are going to be housed within our low carb real food group, which you can find just by pressing the button on our page where it says join group. It's not a new group, it's just that group. And as I said, initially we weren't talking in there because we had nobody to talk to, but now we do. So we'll see you there. See you tomorrow here and next week in the group. Bye, lovelies. See you.